a lot's been said about Trent, but I think a lot of that might be not forgotten, but certainly spirits will be lifted if Liverpool can beat Everton on Wednesday. It's the final Merseyside derby of the season, and after everything that happened in the previous Merseyside derby at Goodison, the players are going to be right up for this, aren't they?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's strange, isn't it? Arne Slot was asked about this at the press conference, really, is that after a defeat, you generally want to kind of get straight out there and avenge it if you can. And Liverpool have had 2 defeats on the bounce for the first time under this manager. Really disappointing ones as well, because Champions League exit, losing a cup final, and then have had 2.5 weeks to kind of stew on it. So that's been a really difficult situation. I mean, the upside for the players is they've had the distraction of international duty. They've been able to go out and kind of refresh themselves and think about something else for a while. But, you know, make no bones about it, they'll be absolutely chomping at the bit now to come back and get a win under the belts as Liverpool. So, you know, there's no better kind of atmosphere and situation in which to do that than a Merseyside derby. And, you know, there will still rankle, won't it, what happened at Goodison Park. So disappointing to kind of what felt like almost a loss in the last minute to concede that goal, and the red cards, the anger, the touchline bans that resulted from that. So, you know, I think they'll absolutely want to set that right, and they'll have the atmosphere at Anfield that will give them the foundations to do that. No excuses either in terms of the international break, because they've had the weekend off, and then so there's been rest there and everything. And so I'm expecting kind of Liverpool to tear into this one and really want to show the best of themselves. And, you know, another win in this game would really set them up, wouldn't it, to go on and kind of wrap the league up as quickly as they possibly can.
Yeah, I mean, no one needs any more motivation than it being a Merseyside derby, but again, there's a league title to be won. I also wanted to get your thoughts on some of the selection choices, because there's been some footage and some reports suggesting that Federico Chiesa was seen and was training in much more of a central position. And there's been a lot of frustrations with Diogo Jota and Darwin Núñez, and even Luis Diaz when he's played up front. So do you see potentially Slot putting him into the team, especially, say, after his impact in the EFL Cup final, where he did score, but wasn't maybe given the minutes that he probably should have?
Yeah, I did kind of wonder about this, but then something Slot said at his press conference today kind of knocked it down for me a little bit, in that he was asked about Chiesa and his kind of lack of minutes, and said, you know, the reason he hasn't been playing is, you know, he's had injuries at the start of the season, but then also because, you know, look at the way that Mo Salah is playing, and you know, he's had a pretty good season, hasn't he? So it didn't sound like someone who was thinking about him in a central position, albeit I would love to see that at some point. I think, you know, that number 9 position hasn't been nailed down by anyone this season. I don't think you have concerns if Núñez starts the derby, if Jota does, if Luis Diaz does. The worries about all 3 of them for different reasons, I think. So it didn't sound like he was kind of lining up Chiesa to go in there. But I think, you know, if he is going to run that experiment, it feels unlikely he would do it in a game this big, and particularly with the title on the line and Liverpool, you know, this the time to experiment. But if he is going to do that, and he does want to take a look at Chiesa in a central position, can he do it in the last half an hour of the game? At any point in the next couple of weeks, can he have a look at that and see whether it's right? Because I think there is a position there that's up for grabs for me, and that might not just be a case of Chiesa saying, okay, I can do this for the next 7 or 8 games, but a case of saying, if you keep me around next season, I can be this option in a central position, and not just the guy who backs up Mo Salah, who plays absolutely every single game at a world-class level. So I think it's important for Chiesa that he finds a way of getting himself into the team. I'm sceptical it'll be from the start in the Merseyside derby, but maybe there'll be opportunities for him off the bench, which, you know, we haven't even seen an awful lot of that this season. He's barely had any Premier League minutes. So, yeah, I wouldn't be against seeing that, but I don't think it will be from the start in this game.
Well, we'll definitely see. If I offered you a draw, would you take it?
No, no. I mean, I think it's a derby, isn't it? And it's, you know, as much as Everton made it difficult for Liverpool and Goodison, and the fact that you know, they're in great form, they haven't been beaten for absolutely ages. I still think the Anfield factor, that Liverpool have had rest, that, you know, they've come off the back of back-to-back defeats. You know, you've got to get back to winning ways and you know, do it in convincing fashion. And I think, you know, Goodison Park is a huge leveler. The influence that crowd can have is very similar to Anfield, really, in terms of, you know, it can change the flow of a game. It can drag you down to their level. And it's absolutely incredible atmosphere when I was there for that game. But this is Anfield, and I think Liverpool, you know, a draw wouldn't be disastrous. Liverpool could pretty much draw the way to the title regardless, because the lead is so huge. But I think it's important to get a win back under the belts, and you know, and it would be a real boost to do that in a local derby. It's not just about bragging rights, but it gives you real confidence as well. So it's important to get back on track. So I think, you know, draw wouldn't be a disaster, but I think Liverpool should be absolutely thinking that the win is what they want and need at this moment.